have to deal with. The comments have been going wild. They're like, Alyssa is like, wow.
Alyssa is what?
Actually, there's been 0 comments on our video. Are we starting? This is it.
Let's go.
Frame it up. Let's go. We got a theme.
Oh, what is our theme?
Today.
You frame it up.
I am.
You framer.
Today on The World According to Noah Savage with Alyssa Wolff. We're talking vacations, travel, and dining, and then we'll get into Summer House Reunion.
This podcast is brought to you by
Nobody yet.
Insert sponsor.
Travel agency. They're good.
Yeah, they're blowing up.
Have you ever used a travel agent?
No, and I honestly like it. To me, a travel agent always seemed like the height of luxury, because also I don't really like planning like those kinds of logistics. Like I would really greatly prefer for someone to be like, hey, I booked you on this flight, like now you just have to show up.
Right.
And I feel like, I don't know, like I've never used a travel agent, but yeah, it's a life goal.
Can we turn down this fan actually? It's really distracting me. It's like blowing my
Okay,
wait,
but also in about 7 minutes, I guarantee you're going to look at Mike and be like, I'm sweating, I need the fan.
Thank you. We turned it down to a 1. That's perfect.
Hey, but Noah.
What?
That was your only fan.
No, not true.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Before we get into traveling, can I tell my exciting audition story? Because there's been so few actual auditions for comedy in my life.
Go for it.
So after one rec and an email and a no thank you, I sent another tape. I was like, this is a better tape. And the guy was like, I like this tape. So here's the audition process. You got to do 6 minutes. I'm going to send you an email, whatever. And then I got this text that was like, are you doing the audition tonight? And I was like, what? And I never had gotten the email. So that's when I had to scramble.
And Noah, how many emails would you say are in your inbox at the moment?
150,000.
Yeah, unread. Unread.
I don't delete.
He's like, I didn't get the email. It's literally like it's like the Gmail equivalent of a rat's nest.
Yeah, you delete every email, which is really weird.
Yeah, you got to destroy the evidence.
It just says 99 plus.
Of just new, unread.
Google's like, we can't go over 100. We don't. You have more than 100. We're not counting that shit.
One time I looked down at your phone where like the Gmail icon is, and it was like 127,824. And I was like, that's too many unread. Too many.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to read Chipotle emails you a great.
Yes, you do.
All right. Well, you're psycho who clears it all out.
Psycho. It's called being mentally ill.
Yeah. There are two types of people in the world. There's 0 inbox people. Whoa, my voice went up a little bit. I'm going to puberty.
There's 0 inbox people.
And then
what's the other type? And then there's lunatics.
Never used email. Never. My Trump's gotten worse over the years.
Yeah, it has.
It sucks. So I get the email and I got to do 6 minutes. And as you know, as a professional comedian and humorist and flight attendant.
You mean stewardess?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Shit. I screwed up my own sexist joke. The hardest part of an audition is actually when you're a great comedian like me, joke selection. Because if you only get 6 minutes and you're like, damn it, that joke didn't go.
Well, for me, not that you asked, but
I did.
You always start with I always build my set off the closer.
Yeah, and work backwards.
Because if I'm developing a little storyline, I was just telling someone about this. One of my pet peeves with semi-pro comics, which I would put ourselves in that category, is when people they don't want to give up a joke. So instead of referencing their current reality, they talk about something as if it's currently happening, and then they completely shift away from it. So they go, dating in New York is hard. And they're like, I've been married 10 years. And you're like, what do you, I'm like, you took me out of it because now I'm only thinking about the fact that you probably either you're cheating on your wife or you haven't been on a date in 12 years. So I'm like, I don't, you know what I mean? So my point is that leads me to the strategy of starting with the closer. Cause then you go, okay, if I'm going to finish on this, how do I build to that in a way that the audience would relate to and not be taken out of it?
Yeah, I saw 2 young comics recently. One guy had a whole big thing about being a teacher, and he's really funny, and I like him personally. And I go, I didn't know you were a teacher. And he's like, no, I didn't. I just made all that up. Yeah. And then I saw this girl, and her whole set was about being a nanny. And I'm like, where do you nanny? And she's like, I know, I made that all up. And I go,
don't do that.
Don't do that. Like, it's actually the easiest thing to do is like say things you really believe in that are true, because then you don't have to like remember the bit.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking about this with Allison because it actually is a pet peeve of mine where it's like along these same lines of like when the punchline is so made up that it's just not based in any kind of reality, because then again, I get distracted. It's almost like when people are like writing or posting things that are like very clearly made with AI, but not acknowledging it. And you're like, that's not real.
Right. The leap has to be so strong that it's a joke, like the punchline, but it can't be so absurd that you're like, well, I know you didn't build a rocket in your backyard and launch your kids into space.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Well, Balloon Guy did, but yeah.
Yeah. But the guy who runs this room, and I don't want to like name drop the room, but he sends like a long and psychotic email about like the rules of the room.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I love.
Of course you do.
And one of them is
men love being told what to do.
I'm actually a stickler for like certain things about comedy as you are, and one of them is when the light comes on.
Turns out we both just like love rules. Yeah. We're like fun, but within the rules. It's like actually not fun at all.
It's like I puked from drinking, but over there in the puke bucket.
In the toilet. Okay, like a responsible adult.
But one of the things he says is, if you get the light, that means you have a minute.
Right.
If the light's blinking, you're running the light. But don't make some big announcement that you're running the light.
Yep.
Just still finish strong. And our biggest pet peeve is, light comes on, you're going into your last bit. You're 10 seconds into your last bit, and you get an applause break.
Get out of there.
Be gone.
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing he said is, don't talk loud so that the audience can hear you in the green room.
Of course. But it's like when you get the big laugh after you've gotten the light, the worst thing that can happen is that the host is not ready. So then you go, okay, like, thank you, that's my time. I've been Alyssa Wolff, whatever. If the host is not on their game, then they have to scramble to get on stage. Yeah. But any good host is going, okay, they've been up there for about 7-8 minutes. They should be prepared because you can get off stage at any time.
Yeah.
Technically.
Reminds me of like my 4th show ever was at a sports bar in Stamford where there should not be comedy. And they were like, out of the crew of whatever 5 comedians, they were like, no, it's pretty good. Like, we'll put him up there. And I had like 5 minutes total. So I'm at 7 and I'm like looking for the host and nobody's giving me a light or anything. And he's just like doing a shitload of cocaine in the bathroom. So then I have nothing. So I go, how about that thing over there? I just start like becoming an auctioneer. I'm like, hey. And like, I'm still getting laughs because they're like, what's he doing? And then the guy's like, oh, yeah, it's back on stage. So I do the set Saturday and I feel pretty confident in my opener. I do mask, sports bra. Big laugh. Then I go into a longer bit, sex at work. Everybody bails. Like 3/4 of the room is like,
yeah.
So then I address it. I go, okay, about a quarter of you guys were on by the end of that one. And then I do corporate introductions, that joke.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Applause break. like they were fully dead. And
they were like, we don't like sex at work, but we do like work.
Yeah. They went from like to like, woo, 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 Arsenio. And I was like, all right, I'm back. And then closed with, then I got the lights. Then I closed and I got big laughs. I got off with shaving my nuts.
Did you ever get a snort?
No. I mean, I don't know.
You would know.
Yeah, I know that I've gotten what I always tell people who ask me about you. I go, I don't know her, but I think like you do more sets where if there's 30 people in the room, 20 people are like, okay, and then 4 people are like, who are you? I must follow you. I'm your fan.
And what's the other 6 doing? Cocaine?
They're like, I have to pee. They're just thinking about themselves, and then.
Everyone's thinking about themselves.
I'll do a set where I murder. and then it ends and nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody's like saying anything.
Well, I have gotten a few snorts. I do get like, oh my God, amateur hour over here. I have gotten one extremely memorable snort, and that was at Zany's Chicago, and it was just so good. Like I was already doing well, and then the snorting began, and it
talked
was
about it.
Of course, and it was like people can't resist like the joy of a snort. You have to be enjoying yourself so wholeheartedly to have air being like sucked up your nose unintentionally. No one wants to snort like as an adult.
No.
So it's like maybe the best I've ever felt about myself.
It's the best. I mean, killing is the best. I only did okay, and I felt great for hours, and then the booker/host like gave me a big thumbs up, gave me a shake. I stayed till the end of the show.
Good.
The Do Less Better campaign. Like, I wasn't like, let me run over and see if I can get another set. I was like, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to like, and I was like, the worst he says is like, yeah, I don't know if it's really right for the room. And I was like, okay with it. Like, I used to get so pissed off if someone didn't like many comedians.
Right.
You're like, what? You didn't love that? Like, even if I didn't do that well, I'd be like, it's very painful to have someone be like, no.
We're in this era of like constant feedback, which like, okay, fine, right? Because we're all like online all the time. And so even like positive feedback.
Everybody, right?
It's happening all the time, right? But what drives me nuts about it is that if you get negative feedback or like critical feedback or like anything like that, and then you go like, no, that's not how it was, or like, that's not what I meant or whatever, immediately the other person's like, you're being defensive. Yes,
right.
I have to defend myself. You said that I was acting like an idiot and I think I was being cool. So now I have to tell you why I was being cool. This was brought on by you.
Yeah. Well, Dina Hashem or some other comedian has some joke where they're like, can I tell you something? And then they're like, that's what, or can I give you some advice? She's like, and that's when I know that they're going to hurt my feelings.
Right. No, but that's like 1,000%. I'm like, also there's like a lot of really great memes about this where it's like, people are like, oh, can I give you a note? And like, it's literally like starts crying. You're like, sure.
Yeah.
But like,
no.
What drives me nuts about the whole like feedback cycle of it all is that someone goes, okay, I'm going to give you this feedback, solicited or unsolicited. And then I'm supposed to just take it and go, you're right.
Yeah. Well, I think that.
Why would I say that? It's like, I didn't ask for the feedback in the first place.
Yeah.
And then if you try to defend yourself at all or try to explain what was even happening, you're like being labeled as this like lunatic who like can't take feedback. But I'm like, but I didn't ask for feedback.
Yeah. Well,
what about tags?
What's that?
I
Like
hate
when
that.
comics say, like,
I
"Who
like
have you ever
tags.
thought of this?"
No, I like tags from comedians, but when I give one, I go, can I give you one idea? And if they say no, I just don't do it.
But also
if they
limit
say sure?
it to one. Like
Right.
if it's a tag and it's like legitimately good, then you go, okay, fine. But I don't need thoughts on my entire set. Like that is, I'm sorry, a male thing.
Well, because we're smarter and we can't help telling the truth. But
I mean,
I don't think it's a male thing at all. I think it's if you love comedy and you love the bits, I actually think I do it all the time, and people love it, especially when I'm really hammered at Comedians You Should Know last Wednesday. Like, hey, can I tell you something? And they're like, oh my God.
But it's just the same thing you've already told them 4 times.
No, like I went up to Casey Shorima or whatever her name is. I'm butchering her last name, but she's smaller than me, surprise. And
Shocking.
I go, I love your comedy. I love your joke about smoking, because the audience is like, oh, I love this cute little person. And then she's like, actually, F you and what you think. And I smoke because I like it. And there are people like, ah.
Right.
And she was like, that's totally what I'm going for. Do you know what I mean? Like right when you're her friend, she's kind of a little bit like.
Right. I think that, like, yes, it's like nice to be like, can I give you, like,
my penis.
No, stop. Can I like give you one idea? But in my experience, it's never one idea. And then it's like it devolves into like notes on your whole set. And then we've talked about this before too. But I'm like, also, if you are not a comic, I truly don't want to hear it. I don't care if I just spent 15 minutes burning the house down or 15 minutes of the biggest bomb you've ever seen someone bomb. I do not want your thoughts. If you are just an audience member, you can like go home and talk shit about me. Like I absolutely welcome that. That is good for you. Great. Do not come to me and go, that was actually really funny. No.
I'll have a couple exceptions who are like my 15-year fan friends who like Buck or like John Anderson.
Fine, that
they've
you
been
can
to
make
like
exceptions.
hundreds of shows. They know other comedians. Like Coons used to come and he could do like Billy Purcell set like from memories. Like because whatever show we were on the same show for 6 months, and but yeah,
but you know what I'm saying. Like,
of course,
if you
in basketball, I get notes from these sometimes,
of course,
from producers, and I'm like, so here's the thing though, you're like a contract guy. I value your opinion and experience. It's like it's not old school anymore where like you're the producer every game, you're dealing with the head of ESPN. Like it's kind of random to just be like, I think this. And I go, well, that's great. But like, what does the hiring guy think? That's what I want to know.
I guess it's just like, I'm fine with like your actions are going to be better feedback than anything else, right? If I see you laughing through the whole show, I know that you're having fun and you're happy to be here. If you never come to another show, I know you didn't like it that much. Mm-hmm. That's fine. I don't need to know like that you thought one joke was funnier than the other or that this one was too crass or what. I don't care. I'm like, that's not the point of this. And like, by all means, like get into it on like TikTok comments or whatever, by all means. Mm-hmm. But like, you don't owe me like personalized one-on-one coaching session like post performance. Like I just like I don't know. I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing. Like I don't know how to play basketball at a professional level. I don't like sit by the Knicks bench and like whisper in their ear. Like that's annoying.
I do actually. And I do know.
I would only do it if they were paying me, obviously. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, I think so basically don't tell us shit about our set. But
also, I will cry. I mean, I feel like, that was always sort of an issue I had. I'm quick to cry, but I'm like, don't.
It's a good album title.
Quick to cry? Uh-huh. Like a country album.
Or stand up.
Yeah, but write it down.
Well, we're recording this. We are recording this, so we can
write it down.
Reference the notes, but it would be a good country album too.
Do you know that I record all my Zoom calls now?
As evidence.
Just so I can get the AI translation. It's awesome.
That is awesome.
It's like really funny what the bots like think we're talking about. But they are getting better.
Well, I'm a voice to text.
You're a talk to text bandit. We know.
Talk to text bandit, and the best way to write stand up is to open up your notes.
No, this is wrong.
And to talk into the phone and have it write it down. And I'll show you an example of that.
Insufferable.
I'll show you an example of that. With
also,
this
there's nothing you love more than doing that and then immediately turning on your nightmare ice cream maker. And it is maybe the worst two sounds I've ever heard.
All right, wait. I'm going to run a bit, and people can sound off in the comments that I talked to text
after I specifically asked for no comments. But go ahead.
Driving in New York. All right.
Classic bit.
It's like a very low stakes NASCAR because you're in, out, you're like stopping and braking, and you're like, man, I'm the greatest driver in the world. But then you look down at your speedometer and you're like, oh man, I got it up to like 28 right there. You're sound off in the comment. It takes years to develop my bits.
It's a premise for sure.
Thank you.
That's a lot.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
That sounded like you were offended by that, but
no. I wasn't offended. I just saw your face.
That's his closer.
But I think the key. You didn't ask me.
Yeah.
Can I give you a tag?
Yeah. Great. Here it comes. That's what we're talking about.
Low stakes NASCAR is where you should explore that joke.
Yes.
What else is low stakes NASCAR?
Thank you. See, I appreciate that. That's how a man relates to another man.
And just start crying. It's not even my bit.
So you should start talking about sex more.
I know.
Yeah.
That's just my blanket for any woman.
I know.
Or she works completely clean, and then a man, like an older man, will come up and be like, but you're so dirty. And she's like,
no.
I'm literally a clean comic. I can do every joke I do on TV.
I think it's fair now. You need to pitch a joke, too. A new joke.
Okay.
Oh, running bits. This is a new segment, running bits. And to our super fans, please sound off in the comments whether or not you like running bits, because it helps the algo. Rather than individually texting us like 15 comments, you could write all that on YouTube. Or you can text us if you want. I don't care.
Okay, this is a new bit I'm working on.
All right.
Okay, how come this is actually relates to your talk to text thing?
Okay.
How come when people are like speaking to robots, like when you call customer service and it's like that automated thing, they also try to sound like a robot?
Yeah.
So they're like, like if the prompt is like, press 1 if you'd like to make an appointment, like representative, but it's like they're saying it in this way that's like
representative.
yeah. Okay, that's one.
I like it. That's good. That's enough. I had another feedback thought. Or you can do another one if you
I'm
want.
going to do one more.
No, she didn't ask for feedback.
Can you light her, please? light this woman.
Oh, this is just a funny line that I never really used.
All right.
But this was like part of the pregnancy segment, which like I'm still doing, even though like, maybe I'll be pregnant again, but hopefully not. When you're pregnant, like, you go into the doctor's office, they give you like stuff to cover up and whatever. But by the time you're like 6-7 months pregnant, like so many people have seen your vagina that you just are like, what are we doing? What are we doing with the robe? Whatever. And I'm like, so many people in this office have seen my vagina. I'm like, I feel like I'm in college. Okay.
I like that bit.
You just like when I say the word vagina.
No notes.
No notes.
No notes. It is a good joke.
Thank
you.
Thank you. You can see me on stage.
So the word, can you?
No.
You're doing the Black Cat.
I am doing the Black Cat, June 28th.
What was I going to say?
The Danny special?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that show.
It's a fun show.
Yeah, Danny
Right.
rules.
Then go next door to Joey Rose's.
Yeah.
I did
Get
exactly
drunk
that.
for drunk for cheap. Yeah, it's a good time.
I'm going to do that.
Got drunk for
awesome.
cheap, and as usual, you see like a comedian behind the bar or comedy adjacent person
There's
you
a
haven't
lot
seen
of
for
comics
12
hanging out
years,
there,
and you're
yeah.
like, all right. Shout out to Joe DeRosa because I love a good screaming comic, as you do too.
I really do.
I love him personally.
I think that like, even though I didn't grow up in like a screaming family, I feel like now as an adult, if you are screaming, I'm like understanding how you really feel.
Yeah, well,
You know what
I'll
I
try to
mean?
do it more.
You don't really scream.
No.
Do I scream? No.
No.
But we both scream for ice cream.
Leave.
And you scream when he makes ice cream.
Oh my God. But you can't hear my screams because it's so loud.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is the worst feedback that I used to get was in college. Once a week minimum, they would do what's called going down the line, where we'd all sit there.
In basketball?
Yeah, progress report. So he'd go line by line each player.
Like
and,
a quarterly review?
it was like weekly, every 2 days, and this was like a Coach Kirill thing that like got carried on. So because they would be like, we don't want any mysteries here. We want you to know and everybody else to know like what's going on. So
Can I tell you something? I love a mystery.
He would tell you what you were doing wrong, tell the next guy what they're doing wrong, and then some weeks after literally yelling at you for 4 hours a day,
Uh-huh.
you'd be like, Savage, nobody competes harder than him. The guy just shows up. I yell at him. He gets back up on his feet. He loves to play. And you give you a compliment for like 15 minutes. And because of you were like so ready to just get shit on, your mood would elevate and you'd be like, da, 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 and like you'd go through life like on a cloud.
This
and then,
is
of course,
sick.
Monday it was back to like, you're not tough enough. Sorry, I spit all over you. And
COVID. You have COVID.
Buck with his coach had the same experience of his
Well,
coach.
Buck was telling us about how after they would do like 2-a-days in college football, like they would, if they played hard at practice that day, they would get like an ice cream cup.
An ice cream treat. And then one kid, they'd be like, no ice cream.
To try and motivate him, like, and I'm picturing like when you
What
went
are
to
you, in
summer
kindergarten?
camp, yeah,
No
those
ice
like little
cream?
ice cream cups, like the little, which are delicious.
Those are amazing.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder why you got to go and like really like fancy up ice cream when that little like half chocolate,
just a
half
little,
vanilla,
right,
little,
from like Costco. It's so good.
eat it with a little tongue depressor.
Yes. You need it with like a stick.
Yeah, you eat it with a little piece of wood. Delicious.
I saw this little kid in a stroller the other day when I was walking home, just like fully reclined in the stroller, like the awning all the way over with the little cup with the stick, just like,
Yeah.
and I was like, yes, like
Best.
that. I'm like,
Yeah.
that kid's like on a vacation.
Well, it's part of the Do Less Better campaign that I've been running, and also the like, I did try to meditate for like a week, and then I didn't have time.
I meditate every day
Do you really?
Yeah.
When?
in the morning.
Really? For how? Where do you do this?
5 minutes.
Where?
Where? On my walk to work.
You can't meditate and walk. You have to be still.
Of course you can.
No.
Yeah.
This is like the Joe List bit where he's like, I meditate. Well, I'm taking a nap, but I tell people I meditate.
I do meditate.
Okay. Well, there's another one. Another good poll. Can you meditate while walking?
Of course you can.
No, your mind must be still.
Oh, I guess you just have like so much free time.
Yeah, I do. I meditate on the toilet.
You don't do anything.
What? That's crazy.
Just kidding.
All right, so we're going on vacation next week. Why do I need notes for that?
I don't know what you're checking over there.
I have a couple show notes here.
You're just mad that my bit did better than yours, and you're trying to find another bit.
I mean, here sometimes I think I'm like the world's greatest comedian, and then other times I don't even think I know what a joke is, because I think something's gonna be so funny, and it's just airball. Like,
can I tell you something?
Nothing.
Like, I was talking to some of my office mates about like doing stand up because they're like interested in it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Not interested in doing it, just like interested like why I would do it. And I'm like, again, mentally ill. And they were like, but what if you don't do well? And I'm like, right.
Yeah.
I'm like, isn't that true in like anything you're pursuing in life?
The hard is what makes it great.
Like, if you're going, like some people are like, you know, interested in what they do for work. And I'm like, I can't relate, but I'm like, I feel like you would go into your job trying to do a good job. And isn't there always the fear that your boss or someone's gonna be like, that wasn't a good job?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
The hard is what makes it great. The higher stakes the fail is, the more I'm interested in it. And it does remind me of another bit that I never did where like,
no.
you know those shows like The Newsroom where they're basically set at a workplace?
Is that like the Apple TV one? Is that what you're talking about?
It was like Jeff Daniels like 10 years ago.
Oh, the older one.
So they're always like yelling about a work. Basically, it's like an argument about work, like most time. It's like, we got to run the story. We can't run the story. It's not ready yet. We don't have story. Like yelling. And I'd be like, if I was in that, I'd be like, yeah. And plus, it's past 7:30. So we get to order lunch and expense it, order dinner and expense it. Because I would never be like caring that much about you know what I mean?
Right. Well, but if you think about it, there's a lot of very successful shows that are based on workplace scenarios. There's like all the hospital ones where like the stakes actually are high because people could die. Then there's like teacher ones, Abbott Elementary.
It's teacher ones.
There's literally The Office.
It's The Office.
There's
Suits.
Parks and Rec, where they work, you know, for a public agency. It's like, it is like, and then that's the character defining things, right? It's like, who cares about the job and who doesn't?
Yeah, but I don't think
I guess less so in the medical ones.
The dramas don't typically have slackers in them. I don't know. I haven't watched Suits. I get fed.
Suits?
I kind of burped while I said Suits.
Ew.
Soups.
Wait, I would watch Soups.
Yeah.
Every single character is like potato leak. Wait. Now I'm writing.
Write an
Soups.
animated show called Soups.
Are all the characters different soups?
I get fed. I get fed soup. I get fed clips of Suits.
Soups.
And from what I can ascertain about Suits, it's just a bunch of hot people wearing really tight clothing.
Bunch of hot soups.
Stop saying soup. Talking about
except for gazpacho.
legal stuff, but in a way that sounds sexual. That's the whole show. And
Well, I
correct me if
told
I'm
you
wrong.
I've never seen it. I told you that
I'm starving.
because we're talking about soup.
I'm so hungry.
Did you ever go to Hale and Hardy when you worked in Midtown?
Yeah, I'm like, let me get some barley and some grain that you farmed, Hale.
One thing you should know about me is once upon a time when I worked in Midtown, I would go into like the basement of Grand Central and get a Hale and Hardy soup. And I mean, talk about just really.
I used to just go to Barnes and Noble and walk around to take a break from the job I hated most in the world was when I was a cold calling real estate agent. And I was in the bullpen with the hotels group, which sounded like they were doing cool stuff. And the guy who was like Mr. Sales Guy had like this phone.
Like attached to his head?
Yeah. And I'm not kidding. He was exactly like, yeah, it was sick. We were at Catch last night. Mark Cuban was there. David Stern. It was insane at Catch. And then he was just like free balling, like his balls were always like near my face. He put his foot up on my chair, and I'm like, and I'd be like, your balls are like in my face, and I'm not part of this conversation. And then twice a day, the other guy I liked, who was like less of a douchebag, would be like, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And I'd be like, what? And he'd be like, he was just on calls all day long, and then
did he have like the jawbone?
Yeah.
A jawbone?
They all had the jawbones.
But the one that came down, or just like a jawbone? Because remember, there was a point where everyone had a jawbone, and we were like, that is so lame. And then we all got Apple earpods, and we were like, it's actually cool.
Yeah, I was thinking about the other day how there was a 5-year period where Bluetooths were synonymous with being a douche.
I was listening to Who Weekly, another great podcast, the other day, and they were talking about how... No, it wasn't Who Weekly. It was maybe Stradio Lab. Anyway, they were talking about how like Bluetooth is a funny technology because it just like hasn't really improved at all. Like like you still have to like do like the manual connect, and then sometimes it's like it's like we can't find what you're looking for, and you're like but it's right here. Like it's like, but we all got annoyed by those like D-bags with jawbones, and then we were like, actually, it's pretty cool.
I've never heard the word jawbone before until now.
Okay, well, Jane Wolfson, if you're listening, you know about a jawbone.
But a Bluetooth was douchebaggery, and now everybody.
But it wasn't called a Bluetooth. It was called like a jawbone.
This little guy.
Yeah, jawbone.
Oh, all right. They got me the like AT&T headset at first to do my cold calling, and then when I realized like I'm absolutely not going to do that, I just never touched it again.
I remember my dad in the 90s getting that thing for his office phone that was like, it was like on top of the.
It was like a shoehorn.
Yeah,
like
so you could be like,
yeah.
so you would have
like looking for a prop. It'd be like, I pick the phone up.
It's like this. You're like,
it's a full shoebox. Yeah, under your ear.
And then because no one in that generation knows how to type, he would just be like that, and he'd be like. But he's like, it's better for your neck. I'm like, that's insane.
I always think about what people did at work before computers. Because it's like, come in, they're like...
They had coffee.
Yeah, I guess...
My dad had a Coca-Cola.
I guess in Mad Men, they do that.
Yeah.
Someone else takes your calls.
That's right. Well, you are on the phone.
Yeah.
Like, you were on the phone a lot, and then...
The men would think of the ideas, and then the women would type the ideas out.
Then my dad graduated from that weird... wedge to like the headset.
It's like a wedge salad.
It's a wedge of
full
cabbage.
wedge salad underneath your.
And then he got the actual headset, and that like we were like, welcome to the Jetsons. This is crazy. Like, how could they hear you? But it was still wired to the phone.
So, what do you think? This is related. For what? I don't know, we may have talked about this before. What do you think a time traveler would be more impressed with?
Where is he coming from?
1810.
Okay.
So he's not like some idiot from the 1400s, but he's like aware that like something's happening, like technology's happening. iPhone, a Bluetooth speaker, or indoor plumbing.
Indoor plumbing.
Indoor plumbing, I think, is the most underrated tech that we have.
Right.
I think you would just be like...
the harder thing to explain would be like, well, there's a lot going on here, but we now drink our coffee cold. What are you talking about?
They'd be like, it's cold. Sir, my coffee's cold. They're like, it's actually more expensive.
Wait, this was like literally a movie with like Hugh Jackman where he like showed up in New York. Like
Encino Man?
No. Encino Man is a great movie though.
I think about like... So what's that movie? It's animated where they're all in wheelchairs and then they have their iPad and they're all fat and they're just like floating around. It's very accurate to like where we're going, I think.
When they're all in outer space, you mean?
Yeah.
We watched it together and I'm just blanking on the name of it. It's like it's Wall-E.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it is good.
But I think about like if I got transported 200 years in the future, right? Maybe some stuff would be the same. Like
you'd be the only human alive. Yeah. They'd be like, ew.
They'd be like, look at him, he's ripped. And I'll be like, oh.
No, I think we'll all just like be turned into like binary code by then.
Yeah. So traveling.
Not me, but
traveling violation.
People I know.
You're gonna get on the jet. Send the jet.
Yeah, it's just a regular plane.
To Nantucket.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be toiling a couple Wendy's stops, a couple stops for the outlets, and then I'll be on a boat.
Right.
What are your traveling pet peeves?
Okay, traveling pet peeves. Number 1. Okay, this happened actually my most recent flight. The plane lands.
Where's the applause?
No, forget the applause. The plane lands. We all obviously want to get off the plane. Okay?
Yep.
We don't want to be on the plane. We don't live on the plane.
Yep.
We're tired of the plane.
Yep.
The people, you know you have to get off in order. That will be the fastest way to get off the plane. Okay? The people who just stand up, get their bags, and then stand there so they're in your way, like...
Nope, I do it.
Just wait your turn.
Nope, I do it.
But you're slowing down everything.
No, you're not. If you stand in your own seat.
No, you're not.
Can I tell you why?
No, because literally on the last flight I was on, this woman was like, I have a connecting flight. And so now all these dingbats are in her way.
Yeah, well, nobody does that. Even if they make the announcement, please let the connecting people off, everybody goes,
I literally,
fuck that. I'm not doing
I
it.
turned into like the most annoying New York version of myself. I was going, seat 6, sit down, sit down. I was
Wow,
like, I was
you're a
literally,
hero.
Because she's going to miss her flight.
I never see this really aggressive yell at people mode that you get in that you tell me about.
Do you know that? Like,
I love it.
You know, like in like Looney Tunes where one of the cartoon characters will like literally see red?
Yeah.
I something turns over in my brain and I'm like, this is, we've passed the point of just like annoyed.
But can I tell you what I do as a tall and great looking man? Is that I get up and I stand in my own seat just to stretch my leg and hip out because I'm in like horrible pain by that point, unless I'm on Delta Comfort Plus, shout out. So I stand, I don't block anybody. I help people with their bags.
Sure.
You know,
so fine. So help people with their bags. But I'm like, this is an annoying thing for me. It's the same. It used to just be that people would cluster around the gate to board the plane. And now there's literally 24 boarding zones. It makes no sense at all.
But you have to do that now. Can I solve this whole problem for all the airlines?
Well, it's because of the bags. I understand. It's because of the bags.
Let me solve the problem. Ready?
But can I tell you, I was getting on a flight with 8 other people. There was no issue with the bags.
Yes.
I'm like, there is no reason for you guys to hover over this flight attendant as if like something is going to change. Just sit down. Like, look at your.
Shut up.
I'm like, look at your dumb ticket. Your boarding group B. Your boarding group P. You're never getting on the plane. Okay, like we don't even want you on the plane.
Well, what happened was everybody said. The airlines were like, well, it's cheaper. Your ticket's cheaper, and you can bring 1 carry-on. So then people are like, 6? Should I bring, like, they have like a duffel and a this and that. You get 1 personal item in 1 bag, number 1. And that's something I stand for, although I did get caught once. But if you just included the cost of checking.
I know.
Because now I get on early. I used to get on last no matter where I was sitting. And I just roll right in, sit down.
Of course.
Now I'm like, I got to get my bag on there because otherwise these assholes will block my bag. They're going to block my bag.
Can I tell you something else funny about the fact that my flight was like so uncrowded, which like rarely happens these days. You know, they like jam everyone on. So I was in row like 8. And so I go sit down. I'm on the aisle. And this guy comes, you know, down the plane. And he's like, oh, I'm 8A. Like he would have to like climb in next to me. But like there's a million empty seats around us. So thinking that he is fun, huge mistake by me, I go, I was like, here, I'll get out of your way. And he goes, well, I'm probably just not going to sit there. And I go, I'm not going to bother you. And he was like, all right. And then he just like sat down in front of me. But I was like, now that we've had this awkward interaction, I was like, could you at least sit 2 rows away from me? Like now we're like way too close. And then he redeemed himself.
Why don't you save that for our segment cringe?
And then I literally was like, by myself, I was just like, I was like, you're a loser. And then
wait, so you were doing a bit where like on an empty plane, you were going to sit next to each other.
I was going to make him sit next to me.
And he just took it seriously. Like, well, I'm not going to sit next to you.
He was like, there's plenty of other seats. I was like, oh, thank you. I was kidding.
And where were you going? Nantucket.
That's right.
Okay, the land of no humor.
No humor. And so then he kind of redeemed himself because the flight attendant, who was really fun, came through with a drink cart, even though we were like sort of like falling out of the sky. And he demanded to have 3 whiskey nips, and I was like, for this 30-minute flight.
I love it.
So then I was like, I'll have a beer. And she was like so annoyed by me. I'm like, you were just flirting with whiskey, man.
Yeah, what's the difference? She doesn't want to bang you, okay? She saw private equity.
I thought she did.
She saw private equity money, and then she saw you and said, no, I don't see any of that.
And then just because I was like, I don't know what was wrong with me on this flight. So they give you a napkin first, and then they get you your drink. Mm-hmm. So
people are going to be like, how dumb do you think Noah is? I'm like, what? Start from the beginning. Is it napkin and then drink?
She hands me a napkin and I just like put it in my book. Like, I don't know. I just like didn't want to hold it. I didn't want to hold it.
Make a little pocket square out of it.
So then she hands me my beer and then she goes, did I give you a napkin? And I go, no.
Well, I've never understood the napkin.
I said no. Why? And then she had to give me another napkin.
I've never understood well, that's insane. Talk about that in therapy.
I know. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
That's being a pleaser. Like, does she want me to want her to give?
I was like, how many napkins should I have?
I never got the napkin with drink thing at weddings, at past. When you give me an hors d'oeuvre, I need a napkin. But they think I'm like, oh God, I need a napkin after. Like, I know how to pour liquid into my dumb
first of all, it's for the condensation.
Oh, that's what it's for?
And then it's also like maybe you're chewing gum or something, you want to throw it out.
For the sweat. You're like, I haven't had a drink in 20 minutes. I'm sweating.
For you.
I don't know if I have any travel pet peeves other than people that don't have TSA pre-check.
Wait, another funny thing I was thinking of. So we're sitting out by the gate and this just like makes me laugh now, like in New York. But they do like the priority boarding, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like people who have status with the airline, and then it's like people with like wheelchairs or whatever, and then people with little kids, and then they go, any active veterans, okay? Like active military or veterans, right?
Yeah.
When I tell you, every single person in this little waiting area is like this.
Well, it was Veterans Day recently, or Memorial Day.
Okay, but I'm like, as if what? As if someone's going to stand up and be like, I actually did serve. No, if you did serve or you are serving, of course you would stand up and go. But I'm like, it's this kind of thing where like everyone was like, you?
Also, there's 8 people. It's like when I have clear and pre-check and then there's nobody there. And I'm like, I already did clear. I didn't realize. And then they go, he's coming through clear. And I cut like 2 people. I love it. Wait, the Nantucket thing reminded me, we've never told this story on the pod about how I was invited to speak at your sister's rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, whatever.
You know, not at the wedding, but the night before. And I didn't want to step on anybody's jokes or material. And it was at a whaling museum. So I just talked about whaling for like 15 minutes.
People liked it.
I can't believe how well it did. I was like, and then Samantha, as you know, a whale eats with baleen. And on whaling voyages, they would eat hardtack, which was dehydrated bread that they added water to. And then I like had some point at the end and I was like, oh, and so I think Sean has found his white whale or something. And I was like, people are going to think Noah's like lost his mind.
Killed.
In my mind, killed. People are like, oh, so funny. And I was
also like
man.
In the whaling museum, we had to give these toasts from like the front of a ship that's been like built into the side of the museum.
Giant whale skeleton in the middle of the room. So I guess, you know, you had to be there to appreciate the full whalingness of it. But
But I'm saying you were on theme.
But I remember that the other day where I was like, what the hell was that? You know? And I had a nice little message at the end.
Sure.
So that's where we're going. Cat's out of the bag. We're going to Nantucket.
I just hope it's like not freezing cold.
Yeah. It could be. Wait, shit. So now should we?
Noah, you are honestly, you are cringe.
I know. I am cringe.
What happened to that professional broadcaster?
Yeah.
He was all about it earlier.
They're like, we got to go to break. I'm like, wait, what? The producer's talking in my ear. I don't know how to do this.
But seriously, this is also something about you. If like we're going to see someone and they just like went through like a bad breakup or something, I'm like, hey, Noah, just like heads up, you know, they just went through a bad breakup. So just like maybe don't bring it up.
Nope.
Noah shows up to the bar and he'll literally be like, how's your boyfriend? I'm like, why?
No,
it's like the first thing you say.
No, that's my dad. That's not me.
Noah,
I don't do that. I don't do it. I don't
Noah.
I don't ask if you're gay. I don't ask how is the sex change operation. I don't ask anymore.
You literally,
I've grown.
you're like, and then you do that thing where you go, "Yee." I'm like, why would you say it? We just talked about this.
Don't say it, as Henry says.
Henry does love to say that. If people are talking around Henry, he goes, don't say it.
He wants to talk. He doesn't want adults to talk.
I mean, that makes sense, though.
Are there other cold Topo Chicos?